This video is sponsored by Squarespace, an all-in-one platform that makes it easy to make an amazing website. This right here is Apple's new 16-inch MacBook Pro, which packs a bunch of new changes, including a new thermal design, which should theoretically help improve the performance of the Intel processors. So in this video, we're going to look at a bunch of things such as fan speed, noise, CPU performance, maximum clock speeds, thermal throttling, graphics performance, and more. And we're going to compare this new base 16-inch MacBook Pro compared to the previous 15-inch base MacBook Pro. Now, we will also be testing out the new 16-inch i9 8-core MacBook Pros, but Apple is only shipping those out next week, so make sure you guys are subscribed so you don't miss out on those videos. Getting into thermal performance, I'm going to open up Intel Power Gadget that's going to let us know our CPU frequencies and the thermals, and we're going to use Cinebench R20 to not only benchmark but also to see what our performance is going to be like. Now, the processor that's in here, the 6-core, is the same exact processor as with the last base 15.4-inch model. Let's hit run, and right away we saw that the CPU went up to 4.4 gigahertz, and now it is clocking down. The previous one in the 15.4-inch MacBook Pro, that only hit about 4.17 gigahertz. So right off the bat, we can see that the clock speed is actually slightly higher for the maximum. Now, it did go up to 100 degrees pretty much right away, and then it knocked the speed down. And we're roughly halfway through the test. Now, the previous 15.4-inch with the same CPU inside of here, that one ran at about 3.05 gigahertz once the system was heated up and once the fans and the temperatures stabilized. And it looks like right now we're getting close to the end of the test, and this one is running at 3.3 to 3.4 gigahertz. So it seems like it's running at roughly 300 to 350 megahertz higher. We just finished off the test with a score of 2,632, and the same exact processor in the 15.4-inch model, that one actually got between 2,350 to 2,400 as far as scores. So we can see that yes, the same exact processor in the new 16-inch is getting higher performance. So we're just starting up our 5th run of Cinebench R20. We wanted to make sure the laptop gets heat soaked, that it's running consistent, and we are seeing some numbers that are stabilized really well. So in general, this CPU can now hit up to 4.5 gigahertz at the burst when it's under these loads, compared to 4.17 with the previous model. Now, as far as consistent frequencies, it jumps between 3.2 to 3.3 gigahertz. If the fans are all the way up, it stays mostly at 3.3, and at that point, the temperatures are around 97 degrees, and then it'll dip down for just a few seconds down to 3.2. And then the temperatures will go down to about 94 or 95. So as far as temperatures, this thing is still running just as hot as it was before, and Apple is definitely trying to maximize the performance, because if we take a look at the CPU wattage, it will go up to 52. Once it cools down a little bit and it's running up 48, it'll go back up, whereas the actual CPU is rated lower than that. So Apple's trying to get as much performance as they can out of this machine. And on average, the CPU is running at about 3.29 gigahertz consistently, whereas our previous 5 runs with the 15.4-inch model, that ran at 3.06. Now, you can probably already tell that we would recommend the new 16-inch MacBook Pro, but another thing that we would highly recommend is our sponsor of the video, Squarespace. I've been using Squarespace for many years now, about 5 now, and I've made websites both from scratch, from custom templates. I've tried multiple platforms, and Squarespace is by far my most recommended method. Not only is it incredibly easy to make a great looking website, but you don't have to constantly be fixing problems or paying other people to take care of it. It just works and works well. That way you can focus on doing what you love. Whether you need a portfolio site, e-commerce, blog, or anything else, they have got you covered with great cross-platform designs to choose from and built-in SEO and security tools as well, which make it an amazing value. Head to squarespace.com/maxtech for a no credit card required trial, and if you sign up, you will get 10% off your first purchase of a website or a domain. So as far as performance, our 5-run Cinebench R20 average is 2,577. That means that the new 16-inch MacBook Pro Pro is about 8 to 10% faster with the same exact CPU, and that is with fans that run slower, on average about 900 RPM slower. So what does that mean for our actual fan noise? So I'm gonna max out my 15.4-inch MacBook Pro, take a listen to it. You guys might not hear the full difference because it's compressed through a little microphone, but I'll give you guys my opinion and what I can actually hear. All right, so we just went back and forth many times, had both of them on the same time, and I even busted out my Apple Watch, the decibel reader, and we do have a verdict. Now, the new 16-inch MacBook Pro is 1 decibel louder overall, but there is also a difference in the pitch of the sound. The old 15.4-inch MacBook Pro does have a higher pitch, even though it is quieter, and it's just a little bit more like a little buzzing type of sound. Now it's time to test out Geekbench 5 so we can see both the single-core performance and multi-core. The results are in, and we are seeing about 6% higher scores for single core and about 10% higher scores for the multi-core. And let me remind you that the processors are exactly identical. The only difference is the larger body and better cooling. So I would say that is definitely a good improvement for the same price. And now let's get into graphics. We're gonna test out the metal performance using the new Radeon 5300M with 4 gigs of memory. What's really great about these new graphics cards is that they are now 7nm Navi designs. That means that it's gonna use less electricity and put out less heat than the previous graphics while getting really good performance, which we'll see how they compare here in just a second. And here are the scores. We have 21,328, which is about 65% higher score than the previous base 555X graphics card. Now, not only does it absolutely smoke that graphics card, it actually beats out the Vega 16 graphics, where you had to spend at least $3,050 to get that graphics card, and it gets close to the Vega 20, which you'd have to spend $3,150. And this GPU is in the base model, and of course for just a little bit more, you can upgrade to the better version. Now let's go ahead and see how this graphics card will perform in gaming. We're gonna run Unigine Heaven, which is a gaming benchmark, and that'll give us a good reference point of how it compares to the previous ones. All right guys, so the results are in, and I am honestly really surprised. So we have a FPS of 47.7 frames per second. Now, this is the base graphics card that you get with the base one. Comparing it to the previous base, that only got 17.8 frames per second, up to 47. That means that the new base graphics are almost 3 times as fast for gaming. The previous MacBook Pro, when Apple added the Vega 20 graphics, we did a gaming test, and we said that this is the first MacBook Pro that we can actually recommend getting for gaming. And this new MacBook Pro with the base graphics actually games with about 25% higher frame rates than the Vega 20, which was the previous best, that you had to spend at least $3,150 to get that graphics card. Now, the base $2,400 model smokes that as well. So I was not expecting that. Wow. Now do keep in mind that there is a better graphics card, the 5500M. For $100 more, you can get that one with 4 gigs, or for $200 more, you can get it for 8 gigs, or if you buy it through our link down in the video description, you'll actually get $100 off of that. So for only $100 more, you can get double the video memory and better performance. Now we're also gonna be getting a model with that in, and we're gonna do a direct comparison between the two graphics cards, figuring out how much of a difference there actually is in multiple different use cases. So make sure you guys stay tuned for that video. But overall, I mean, I'm impressed just looking at the thermals and looking at the performance. Of course, there's a lot more differences, such as the speakers, microphone, keyboard, battery life, and we're gonna be doing a side-by-side comparison that's gonna be out tomorrow, so make sure you guys are subscribed so you guys don't miss that. We're even gonna take off the bottom casing and look at the batteries and the layout there. So there's a lot of content to come. Overall, what did we learn from this video? Well, the CPU runs at higher frequency. It stays consistently at roughly 250, 300 megahertz higher for all core performance. The fans run slower. They are slightly louder, but lower pitched. and the graphics card absolutely demolishes not only the previous base model, but in some cases it gets close to the best graphics available, very close, or beats it out in terms of gaming. So overall, I think this is a huge win for Apple and a huge win for Mac lovers. Thank you guys for watching this one, Macs. Click that circle above to subscribe and the notifications down below, and check out these other 2 videos right over there, and I will see you in the next video.